What Tantra means to me is a lot more than a set of practices or a methodology. It's even more than an attitude to life. It's a way of being alive, and it's the way that is to live as fully and deeply as possible, as honestly and authentically as possible. That's what Tantra means to me in a nutshell. Well, because Tantra is really about life in its wholeness, sex being a big part of life, you could say the engine of life, sex is very central to Tantra, but not necessarily sex in terms of people having sexual intercourse, but sexual energy, because sexual energy is underneath everything, really. My approach to Tantra as a practice, as teaching, especially in teaching, is that it's about being intimate with what actually is, without having a particular, let's say, agenda or project or destination. So usually Tantra is taught or presented as an esoteric approach to sexuality. But for me, it's more about intimacy. But in being intimate with yourself or in being intimate with another, you're going to come across sexual energy. So sexuality has a lot to do with it, but it's not the main purpose, really. The benefit or the gift of sexuality is to allow people to become intimate with intense energies. My Tantra workshops, in a nutshell, offer the opportunity to become more comfortable with being intimate with whatever you might be feeling, whether that's solo on your own, or in relation to other people, usually one other person, but sometimes in a group. So it doesn't have a particular result. It more has, it's offering an opportunity to become comfortable with moving in a particular direction, which is one of being more intimate with whatever is actually happening within. Well, even though overt sexual activity is not a part of my workshops, the things that we do, the practices that we do, the practices that people do alone or with a partner, can have a very nourishing effect on their sexual experience in the future, because satisfying sex is really about being intimate. It's about being intimate with somebody else, but it's also about being intimate with yourself. So all of the practices that I offer people are supporting intimacy. And in supporting intimacy, they're going to support a more satisfying sexual experience. Well, intimacy is a big thing, really, and very often intimacy is associated closely with sexuality. And of course, in Tantric workshops, Tantric experiences, Tantric practices, that's also the case. But really what intimacy means is being as close as possible to what is actually going on, what is actually happening. Initially, you could say that means what you're feeling, but it can mean being as close as possible to what another person is feeling. So intimacy means, in a practical sense, moving into something or someone, whether it's something within yourself or something that you're sharing with other people, but it doesn't necessarily mean any particular form. It doesn't have a particular form. It doesn't mean you can only be intimate if you do A, B, C. It's more a question of how open you are. It's about being as open as possible, as present as possible. Anybody at all is welcome to my workshops. People can come individually, they can come as a sexual couple, they can come as friends. It doesn't really matter, because everybody is always free and encouraged to honor their own boundaries and to follow their own feeling. And so nobody's ever asked or even encouraged to do anything that they wouldn't want to. So to come alone is fine. To come with your partner is fine. To come with somebody you know who's not your partner is also fine. In the end, everybody is doing what they're doing alone, in a sense. Even if you're doing it with somebody, it's about your own willingness to feel. There is perhaps nothing more important, nothing more valuable for a human being than their willingness to feel. A willingness to really feel is the only possibility, really, for a human being to become genuinely and authentically happy, rather than just trying to tell themselves that they are. And a willingness to feel is not that common, you could say, because everybody's been hurt, and people don't want to be hurt. And so therefore they resist situations in which they think they might be hurt, but they also resist allowing themselves to feel whatever they're feeling in situations that they are in. So a willingness to feel means a willingness to enjoy, means a willingness to suffer. It means a willingness to feel love. It means a willingness to feel fear. It means a willingness to feel whatever might be inside one. Very often people understand openness or intimacy as a dissolving or a pushing through boundaries, but I don't see it like that at all. I think that one's boundaries, whatever they are, even if they're only momentary, are real, and they need to be respected and honored. And to me, being intimate means being not only willing to feel whatever is inside you, which means to feel your anxiety, your doubt, your fear, your excitement, your anticipation, your desire, but it also means being able to understand what's actually possible for you. And what's possible for you is not only determined by what's going on in the moment. So I would say that it's one of the most central aspects of my Tantra workshops is helping people to feel, acknowledge and honor their boundaries, whatever they may be, without any external source deciding what their boundaries should be. My Tantra workshops are for anybody who's ready to feel, anybody who's willing to feel, anybody who's curious about their own possibilities. No particular experience of any kind is required, and actually quite often people who have no experience get more out of it because they don't have any expectation. So the practices that I present to people support them in their willingness to feel in a very simple way by helping them to pay really deep attention to the presence of physical sensations as they arise in their body, and to come to understand them just by being with them, not by analyzing them, but just through letting go of using the mind to bring you whatever it is that you're thinking that you want. So it's the emphasis is on the nature of the physical sensations that are being generated by the body moment by moment. If you ask me to characterize what most distinguishes my approach to Tantra to other approaches to Tantra, I would have to say that my approach is about what actually is, not about what should be, could be, might be, or ought to be, but about what actually is. And the reason for that is that what actually is, if fully encountered and experienced, is already enough.